The Review on the OSG Sports Podcasting Network.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Review. It's the Online Sports Guys college football podcast featuring us, the Online Sports Guys. That would be me, OSG Phil. That would be him, OSG Nelson. That would be him, Brother Marty. We are talking college football. We're not doing this on a weekly basis, but we are doing this when stuff comes up. And guys, this week some stuff came up.
We're doing it when we feel like it.
It's a need-to-know basis, and you need to know.
Yes. I'm going to start with what I think is kind of the biggest of the deals here. And we've got a couple different things going on, including some lawyers making lots of money, coaches getting new jobs. But we're going to start with the announcement on Friday that the Big Ten and the SEC are going to partner up to kind of explore issues that impact the game of college football.
We're going to address.
If there was only an organization whose job that was, that would do that. You know, they would take care of things like health and rules and how money's spent.
I'm at a loss.
On a consistent basis.
I don't know who this organization is.
Or if there was somebody who actually would be responsible for making sure everybody worked under the same set of rules.
I'm interested in this cheating subject.
I don't know what you're talking about. And this whole, name, image, and likeness thing. I mean, I think it's intriguing. I think it might have a future.
Yes.
Just might.
And I think this partnership here may portend the beginning of a new future, and it's a future that consists of a couple of power conferences and then everybody else.
It's like y'all go about your business.
It's a pair that has a pair, and is I think let's call it what it is. It's a warning shot.
Yeah, because for years we've talked about how the NCAA is supposed to be the oversight in college football, but they don't really oversee much of anything anymore. They don't have a whole lot of power when it comes to football.
They watch a lot.
Yes, they do. Really, the power in college football kind of rests with the College Football Playoff Committee and the individuals in the individual conferences, none of whom seem to be really willing to police or monitor each other. They all seem to be in it to see who can make the most money.
Well, yeah, that's the wild, wild west. I mean, when there are no rules, you're going to take advantage of the fact that there are no rules until somebody decides that there are rules, and then try to enforce rules that may or may not exist and sit there and wag their collective finger at you. And so now, Marty, we have Tony Petitti with the big, the B1G, and Greg Sankey with the SEC, who are adding, let me see, 6 teams to both of their conferences. Oklahoma, Texas, heading to the SEC.
You're alone.
Yeah, and Oregon, Washington, USC, UCLA.
Would you say Oklahoma and Texas are heading to the middle of the SEC?
Yeah, at this point, yeah, they would be what we refer to as B+ players. They're B+ players right now. They're
otherwise.
They're kind of like that. They're like they're like that second level right now going in, and then you have what's left of the Tupac over there in the West, but you've got the Big Four coming over and being a part of things in the B1G. So it's like legitimately, it's the 4-letter conference and the 3-letter conference from a television perspective. You have the ESPN conference and the Fox conference, and they're going at it right now. And it's like, y'all, we're gonna work on our stuff. You can work on your stuff if you want. But right now, we're going to work on our stuff, and it's like that part of the relationship where like when we were all younger and single. It's like, I need some me time. I need to work on myself. I need to better myself. This relationship thing ain't working out. I'm working on myself for a little bit, and so let's take a little time apart. I might text you. I might call. To check in and see how you're doing. But I need some me time right now. I'm going to focus on me. That's what I think we have right now with the B1G and the SEC.
Figure it out. They're straight up telling them, figure it out.
Figure it out.
Yeah, and I find it interesting that as part of this, they said, if we need to, we'll consult with some of the others, such as the ACC, Big 12, in some of the Group of 5 conferences. If we need to talk to you, we will. But really we're going to work on ourselves.
Translation, figure it out, or we're going to pull everybody in together ourselves.
It's me time.
I'm going to do subtitles.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's me.
and this goes back to something that we've kind of hinted at a little bit over the course of this college football season, and I've said it for years, is that we're going to get into a world here really soon where we've got super conferences, which is if these guys keep moving the way they're moving, that's what we're going to have with the Big Ten and the SEC, and then everybody else. And we're going to get a couple of different levels of college football, much not too different than what we have now, but there's going to be more people in that second tier than there currently are.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly what Chip Kelly said we should do. So we need to just launch football Skynet now, make him the commissioner or overlord or whatever you want to call it, and get it going and bring in relegation, go full soccer with it.
See, promotion relegation amongst the three levels, that would be fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, could you
the Japanese college football where the bottom two teams from the top tier play the top two teams, and the winners of those two games go up or go down depending on the outcome. That's perfect.
Yeah, and you have
a lot more people watch that than a bowl game that doesn't mean anything outside of our favorite bowl.
Yes.
Yeah.
Outside the Pop-Tarts Bowl, which I'm already looking at making that a road trip next year.
There you go.
A bowl in a far off land featuring 2 6-6 teams is what you're getting at.
Well, and then what you do is you integrate the promotion relegation playoffs into the current bowl structure, and don't think that folks aren't watching bowl games now. Don't think that those fans wouldn't be invested and the college football fans wouldn't be invested in the pro rel from, say, AAA to the big leagues and from AA to AAA. I mean, all of that activity. I mean, could you imagine a game with, say, South Dakota State and Indiana that would determine promotion and relegation from tier 1 to tier 2? And you integrate it into the bowl structure somewhere. You put it at a neutral site. You attach a sponsor to it, or you put it in a bowl game someplace. And those kinds of games, that would be absolutely fantastic television.
Oh, those kind of stakes, you're getting whatever network it's on, you're getting their A team because of the drama involved.
Oh, yeah. You're not getting opt-outs. You're not getting guys that are going to just sit out so they can enhance their pro status.
Because everybody that gets bumped up a league is going to double their NIL ability.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that's the separate topic, because we're coming up on the old National Signing Day. And so we get to see coming up in just a little bit all the trickle-down effect from the original signing day that happened just before Christmas and all the portaling that's happened. And by the way, when BC loses their head coach to the NFL, nothing like opening a 30-day window of chaos just before the second National Signing Day.
Who's got any spots left right now, though?
Yeah, that's a whole different topic.
That's the thing.
That being Jeff Housley leaving Boston College to go to the NFL. I think that's going to be something that you're going to see a whole lot more of with college coaches, because it's become a vicious year-round game where you don't really get a day off.
Yeah, and there's more dominoes could come out of that. They're already talking your buddy and mine from Ohio State's new offensive coordinator. You know, there's grumblings that he might be interested in that gig.
Of course.
To the point where Ohio State message boards are talking about who's going to replace him already, even though he hasn't said he's interested in the job. He was interested the last time it came up.
Oh, man.
And he's got ties to the area, including, his son has I don't want to go into too much detail, but his son has an illness, and the best place in the country to treat said illness is right there.
Mass General.
So like nobody would fault him for going after that job.
Not at all.
No, and message boards take big leaps based on loose threads of connective tissue on a daily basis.
What? That never happens.
I like to call that our bread and butter.
Jumping to Assumptions 101. That we're a graduate level course of that. We're like
shenanigans.
We're like 501 when it comes to graduate level assumptions. And
there's a thread here. It must be true.
Yes, absolutely correct.
It's on the internet. Must be true.
Yes, but yeah, the advisory group that was formed with the SEC and the B1G. Here's the quote in a B1G news release. Formed in reaction to, quote, recent court decisions, pending litigation, a patchwork of state laws, and complex governance proposals. The Big Ten and the SEC have substantial investment in the NCAA. Maybe the other way around.
We wield more money than you.
And there is no question that the voices of our two conferences are integral to governance and other reform efforts. Marty, hit that quote again.
Figure it out.
We recognize the similarity in our circumstances as well as the urgency to address the common challenges we face.
Fix it now.
Yeah. Figure
it out.
Greg Sankey, there are similar cultural and social impacts on our student athletes, our institutions, and our communities because of the new collegiate athletics environment. We're
both bigger than you.
We do not have predetermined answers to the myriad questions facing us. We do not expect to agree on everything, but enhancing interaction between our conferences will help to focus efforts on our common sense solutions, end quote.
You are our common enemy.
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome for the subtitles.
That means, short version of that one means basically we're going to figure out how to go at it on our own. And when we do that, we're gone.
Yeah.
Tightening up. We're either going to take you over or we're going to make a new one.
I mean, this legitimately could be those first steps to the resurrection of the CFA, which ABC.
For a different name because they won't use that name.
Right, but it's the same premise, just the 21st century version of the CFA. Although it would be funny if they did something that was close and maybe they just
What
about FIO? Figure it out.
Let's explain the CFA for those who don't know what it is.
That's a Google search for today, kids.
The College Football Association, which was a precursor or an early version of the college football playoff, for lack of a better way to put it. A loose organization and agreement on we're going to go do our thing, but the NCAA is not going to tell us what we can go do. We're going to just do it ourselves.
Yeah. And for those of us of a certain vintage, we remember that ABC had their own game of the week, and the CFA was formed back in '77. And what they did is they went after their own TV rights deal. And so when you got to see, Al Michaels and Lee Gross Cup and all the other ABC announcers, ABC jumped at the chance to negotiate with the CFA to have their own deal. And so now, I mean, obviously we still have contracts in, but the spinoff of the coaches and the universities to want to be more in control of their own destinies. That's what you had with the CFA in the late 70s. And by the time everything started declining, it was about a 15-year run that the CFA had. This is starting to look like that second version of the CFA. So this could be CFA.
Ahead of its time.
Yeah, it was. CFA 2.0 coming your way.
Yeah, it was the precursor to conferences getting to negotiate their own TV deals, which is the driver behind pretty much everything that goes on in college football now.
It's a little bit of a CFU.
Not wrong.
Yeah, you could say that.
Mm-hmm.
You could definitely say that.
If you know anybody that's been a college athlete, just ask them their opinion of the NCAA. Never consistent about anything. NCAA. I can't repeat that one, but the best man in my wedding used it frequently.
Yeah. Just when you mention what to a non-revenue athlete in the NCAA current structure, you mention those four letters, then duck your head because you're gonna catch it coming. It's going to be like the movie scenes where you see all the F-18s coming in and they're just going to plow the road. That's the response that you're going to get from a non-revenue athlete or a lesser revenue athlete when it comes to mentioning the NCAA.
Yeah, because there's football, occasionally basketball, and everybody else, you're on your own.
You gotta look at the big schools like your Ohio State, your Michigan, Georgia. Basketball and football kind of pays for every other thing. Mm-hmm. And without NIL rules,
yes,
you're going to see more and more of those, non-rev sports just evaporate.
Loyal.
It's funny you should say that, though. For decades, all those sports existed, and they somehow found a way to fund them. Schools didn't just ignore them or not give them anything. They always were there. And everybody had a baseball team, everybody had a rowing team, and weightlifting team and gymnastics and all those various sports, they seem to be able to find a way to fund them back in the day. They don't.
They also
seem to-
played teams that you could drive to.
Mm-hmm.
So it's doable.
Yeah, but you basically need to have someone who's the equivalent of what we would refer to in the NFL as a capologist. Because in Division I baseball, you only have X number of scholarships. And what you're doing is, for those that may not understand, these sports, what they'll do is with X number of Division I scholarships, or D2 or whatever, what they'll do is they'll chop them in half. So they'll go to a baseball player and sit there and say, hey, look, we can give you a half scholarship. We want you to be a part of this program, and the program could be incredibly successful. But they'll say, okay, we can only afford to give you a half scholarship, and then you can do GSLs and what have you to fill out the rest of your the funds that you need to make ends meet here. And you would hope that something like an NIL deal would help these players in these lesser sports, even if it's just something local that can pass the time and help just make the edges a little easier. But you've got to have a capologist in these non-revenue sports to chop up these scholarships, to sit there and it's like, okay, we can give this guy a half, this guy a half, this guy a half, and it still adds up to 13. So that way, those who are the most nimble in these athletic departments, they're the ones that you end up seeing successful over and over and over again. Understand that local investment can help out as well to make sure that these programs stay as self-sufficient, in quotation marks, as possible.
Yeah, like
you
go to
some of these big profit farm colleges that are making 9-figure profits. I mean, if you're taking in $100 million in revenue as a university, you can afford to fund pretty much anything you want.
True. Or like what happens on 1AA a lot. Having gone to Youngstown, I knew players that they'd get half a football scholarship and then half a track scholarship.
Mm-hmm. You find ways to combine with the numbers that are available to you.
Yeah, to some extent, Georgia Southern was the same way back in the day. And we still don't make the revenue to justify playing where we are, even in the Sun Belt.
Yeah. How far are we from getting non-scholarship athletes that have NIL deals that match the yearly cost of attending a school? Like
that's coming.
Yeah, I think I hope it's coming, because you're looking for those elements that can draw the financial gaps closer, because the last thing you need is an athlete who's incredibly talented and they can't invest the time in, and everybody around them knows that this particular athlete can make it to the next level, whatever that next level is, but they're not able to invest the time because the financial elements are not available to them for whatever reason.
I mean, you see guys that are getting the whole pitch is, it's hard to get depth anymore with the way people bounce around. They're like, if you come here for 2 years, develop as a lineman, develop as a tight end, develop as a linebacker. You might not start here, but you'll be ready to sign somewhere else and start as soon as you get there, after having 2 years of being in our weightlifting and in our getting taught by our specialty coaches.
This is a really good way to roll in one of the other big topics of the day that we mentioned at the beginning of the show, and that's the lawsuit being filed by the attorney generals of both the state of Tennessee and the state of Virginia.
That's attorneys general, sir. It's like mothers-in-law and poets laureate.
Oh, I know. It just sounds weird saying it that way.
Don't they have multiple laureates?
Yes, I think we can.
Technically speaking, yes, but it all comes through the point person, which is the general's attorney or attorneys general.
Attorneys general.
But the lawsuit filed in federal court, U.S. District Court of the Eastern District of Tennessee, basically is a response to the NCAA saying that they're opening an investigation to NIL payments. In Tennessee's case, the payments that were made to quarterback Nico, and I can't ever say his last name.
Just say Nico.
Just say Nico. QB Nico.
Yes, Nico Iamaleava.
So if you don't know his name, then it's probably not money well spent.
Well, he was a 5-star top recruit out of California who ended up committing and playing at the University of Tennessee after he had already received money from the collective that is Tennessee's naming, image, and likeness group.
The Vol Club. It's run by Spire. Yeah.
Yeah. And the NCAA's contention is you can't pay players NIL money to get them to come to school. You can only pay them NIL money after they're there.
Or to transfer.
And that is the point of contention here between the NCAA and a growing list of schools now who are being basically investigated or threatened with investigation by the NCAA. That list includes the University of Florida, Florida State, Tennessee, and several others, all who say there's nothing in the rule book that says we can't do that if we want to.
This makes my head hurt.
Heaven forbid you tell an 18-year-old what he's getting into. Jesus.
Yeah, but the point here being NIL and all the things surrounding it.
There are no rules.
Yeah, just right.
I should do a
They
carton drop.
basically
I do what I want.
Basically.
Yeah, they just legally speaking, NIL rules were agreed upon. There were no limitations put on it or what they needed to be directed or how they needed to be directed. So schools just started applying them as they saw fit.
And
now the NCAA is saying, no, you can't do that.
Guidance before the fact, not after. It's
Yeah.
sad when we go from interviewing people that work in athletic departments and people that help veterans get tickets to we're probably going to have to do a monthly segment of pulling in a lawyer and asking them what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the people who profit from this are the guys who file legal briefs.
Yes, billable
Yeah,
out.
how about we just call those guys before we start it, set the rules, and then
And
have
then
that.
put it
No,
into play.
No, because what we're going to do is we're going to approve name, image, and likeness. And then when folks do things that apparently we don't like, we're going to sit there and say, well, you can't do that when there were no rules of engagement in the first place.
Yeah, there's nothing saying you couldn't do it.
This isn't like Top Gun where Maverick can't shoot at a Russian MiG until they engage first. This is not like that. This is not like that in the original Top Gun. You can't, it's like you can't engage in a Russian fighter until they shoot first. No, that's not how this works. There are no rules here. It is the Wild West. It is the issue from the absolute beginning that if you wanted to have rules, you make the rules before you start the game.
Yes.
And then, oh, God, my head hurts.
Does that make what the Big Ten and the SEC is doing, like the Geneva Convention?
Arguably, yeah.
I mean, they're setting the rules of engagement and fair play, and
yeah,
kind of a little bit after the fact, but yeah, essentially, yes, that's it. That is what it is.
And so you have the NCAA who sits there and for whatever reason, in whatever particular situation that's engaged in either Tallahassee, Charlottesville, or the University of South Georgia, Gainesville campus, that you're Tennessee, Knoxville, wherever, that you're mad that they've done something. And so now you're going to extract your revenge on whatever. It's just like, no, you can't do that. Well, you didn't say we couldn't do it to begin with, but you can't do that. It's like, who's on first? I don't know. Third base. It's an Abbott and Costello sketch.
Yeah, when you're
going to be the commissioners.
When you're talking about schools who play in a world where we're talking multi-million-dollar contracts,
they're big businesses.
They're gonna keep going until you tell them to stop.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes back to what we said at the beginning of this whole conversation. Do you have somebody in charge or somebody who is responsible playing grown up in the room saying, here are the rules? Everybody's going to keep pushing until somebody makes them stop. And this is not going to make them stop.
But the thing is, and now the NCAA is apparently with these institutions, they've set barriers. If you want to set rules, then those barriers now have to be the new set of rules. And how many schools are going to agree to this new set of rules now that you've moved the goalpost to set to this particular place in your timeline? None. You've outstepped yourself again, and you've tripped down the stairs. And now you want to sit there and point at the dude behind you and go, he pushed me. No, that's not how this works. Rules to begin with, not rules to it's like oh God. It's like instead of asking for what is it? You're asking. It's like you're trying to set up. It's permission and forgiveness. What is it? Don't ask for.
You're asking for permission after you've already given forgiveness.
Yeah. So, God, I'm getting a migraine. It's like literally for me right now. It's that scene in Scanners when Michael Ironside talks, then just splits the doctor's head open in the middle of the conference.
If I was better at After Effects, I'd edit that in.
Oh, so bad.
This segment is brought to you by Leave.
Talk about in the off season
This segment is brought to you by Insert Pain Reliever here. We're more than happy to accept a sponsorship to ease the headaches that we continually get from organizational bodies on a weekly basis.
We occasionally watch racing. Send them some
now.
goodies. Send them some goodies headache powder.
Yes. Yes.
Guys, with that, I think that's a good way for us to kind of toss it to the break here. When we come back in the second half of the show, we'll talk a little bit about some coach movement and some other news and notes going on in the wide world of college football, including the Senior Bowl and a new head coach at Michigan. That'll get Marty really excited. All that and more, we return for the second half of the review. You are listening to the review on the OSG Sports Podcasting Network.
Please like and subscribe and send John some Leave.
Over here in the OSG Sports side of things, we talk football. Football. College football version here with the college football review every single week. But for those of you that like not just football with two O's, but football with a U, Futbol, there's the Soccer Down Here Network. I'm John Nelson. I host the morning show on Soccer Down Here along with Jarrett Smith, Nick Alifi, Jason Longshore. And if you're looking for the best information when it comes to the world of soccer, based in the southeastern United States, but we don't leave anything off the table. 9:05 Eastern time until 11 whenever. Sometimes we go for a while. SDH Network morning show, soccer's morning show, Monday through Friday, plus all the live events we do. It is your place and your source for soccer that is based in the Southeast, but covers everything on the world. SoccerDownHere.net, the Soccer Down Here app, available iOS and Android through our friends at Spreaker. That's like speaker with an R in the middle. Spreaker, do a search for OSG Sports. Do a search for Soccer Down Here. All the soccer content all in one place. It is the SDH Network and Soccer Down Here.
Thanks for sticking around, everybody. You have made it to the second half of the show. Guys, in the first half, we talked a whole lot of legalese.
My head still hurts, by the way.
Yes. Things happen. Things that could be happening, things that might not be happening. We're going to talk about stuff that did happen, and that includes the University of Michigan getting their new head coach, to the surprise of absolutely no one. Sharon Moore gets the promotion. He will be the head man in Ann Arbor, and he actually has a little bit of a rebuilding project ahead of him.
He's going to be the head man in Ann Arbor. He said head man.
They lost their entire, how many people they got going in the draft? The entire line.
Yeah.
Most of their
quarterback, running back,
nine of their offensive starters or something like that.
Yeah,
are going to have to be replaced.
And they got 3 more weeks to know if they're going to lose anybody to the portal.
Well, they can knock on BC's door because BC's got a good 3.5 weeks to figure out who's staying and who's going.
The problem up there that a lot of Michigan fans are upset about is every time you hear about a Michigan coach, they're not on a recruiting trip. They're on a job interview somewhere. And nobody's actually gone out
College
and saw.
coaches are portaling, kids.
Nobody's gone out to recruit any of the portalers or any of the remaining high school people
Mm,
because what they lose now? Defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
The one that's going to hurt more is that they had a top flight strength
Has to.
conditioning coach who's also following Harbaugh.
yeah.
Shockingly, his son is going with him.
Wait, what? No, comma, no. Dot. That never happened.
Little Harbaugh is they haven't said what his role is, but he was special teams, I believe, at Michigan.
Oh, so that.
So strength conditioning, D coordinator, and special teams guy all left. So
Did I mention how much I'm looking forward to the Harbaugh administration with my Bolts? Did I mention that?
I got to give him props for him saying he wants to live like Jim Rockford.
Trailer park, yeah. Just give him the old Firebird. Sir, he did. He said
He's leaving Michigan, but he's acting Michigan.
Yeah. So, literally, he's like, I want to win multiple championships, and I'm like, well, that's the first problem is that's not going to happen. And then second thing he says, he wanted to live in a trailer park.
Just like I think that's a partial tribute to a lot of Michigan fans.
And so more power to him. See, now if Harbaugh's smart, he lays into this whole Jim Rockford thing. Like literally,
he gets the car.
Well, he gets the Firebird and he sets his answering machine message. This is Jim Harbaugh. I'm not here right now, but leave your name at the tone and I'll get back to you. Beep. And then,
Does that mean he's going to get beat up every other week too?
Well, yeah, that could be. And then you have all of these other coaches and celebrities like leave messages once a week. And then you play it as a part of the video to lead into the game of the week.
That would be freaking epic. And I would have to cheer for him if that happened.
Yeah. So it'd be like, yeah, Jim, this is Nick Saban. Don't ever call me again. Click, something like that. And then you get into the video inside of SoFi and then everything kicks off inside every week. That'd be all.
Jim, this is your brother, John. When are we playing again?
Exactly.
I'm going to beat you this week. That's all.
Hey, this is Connor Stallions. You have any room in the scouting department?
You see, now going forward, we're going to have to use the Rockford Files music drop when we're talking about Jim Harbaugh. We have to
do with that
going forward.
So we're going to have to find a generic picture of a trailer and put a
logo
on it.
Clip. I have it saved because I used it a couple times when I was editing the podcast.
So, yeah. So if he lays into the whole Rockford Files thing, I will applaud him. I think he's insane for saying that the Chargers are going to win multiple championships. Looks like Mike Williams is going to be leaving the wide receiver core. I don't know what turnover is going to be like, but all I know is that we're going to have a slice of khaki down the side of the pants. That much I do know.
Hey, he can't do any worse than the guy that he's replacing.
Don't even get me started on Brandon Staley.
Yeah. Moving on.
Please. Thank you.
That's got to be the most left-handed compliment.
We're in the midst now of what I guess it's kind of like an all-star season for college football, but it's really just I guess you really should call it showcase season.
Yeah, it is.
And those are the games like the Senior Bowl and the East-West Shrine game. Games where the guys that are eligible to be drafted get a chance to show what they can do to NFL scouts. Excuse me.
And there were more points in the Shrine game than there were in the Senior Bowl.
There were.
There
were also more quarterbacks in the Shrine game probably than there were in the Senior Bowl because everybody kind of opted out at the last second. Michael Penix went through the week of practice in Mobile and then decided, yeah, I'm not going to play.
I mean, come on, man.
Bo Nix, yeah, he only played for like a series or two. Spencer Rattler ended up being the big name quarterback at that event, and he played a good chunk of the game, maybe helping his draft position, maybe not. But it's interesting to me always it's actually kind of fascinating to see who thinks that they should be playing and what they should be doing at an individual time. Although I think that comes from their agents more so than them.
No.
Yeah. For the uninitiated, the week of practice is more important than the actual game.
Mm-hmm.
There's probably as many people sitting in the stands with all the scouts during practice than there is at some of the games.
Yep. I mean, how much are we going to be reading into Sam Hartman going 7 of 25 for 69 with a pick?
It'll reinforce the fact that he's probably not a top draft pick
Mhm.
or
Barry
in the
Hartman,
upper tier
Barry Hartman.
quarterbacks in the draft. Actually,
Welcome
your
to the
reason for
UFL.
being a little bit hesitant to play in these games is former Marshall running back Rasheen Ali rupturing his bicep during practice this past week, and Ali has a chance to be a draft pick this year. He's one of the better running backs in the list of running backs. And now he might not even be able to work out during the draft scouting combine.
That's like a 6-month injury, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Depending on the severity of
Yeah,
the separation.
and rehab and being at 100% and being satisfied with your own state.
That's a 7th round draft pick that you just kind of
Take a
you
flyer.
got cap issues, you take a flyer, get that guy on the roster, and then move him to injured.
I mean, you mentioned roster flipping and things like that, and attrition and who's playing and who ate. FSU defensive tackle Braden Fisk switched sides because of roster attrition. He went from one team to the other. That's what you're looking at here when you have all these dudes coming. And this is what I would do if I'm the Senior Bowl. Legitimately, what I would do is almost treat it like a hybrid shrine game where, like, look, all right, we know that we want the top guns to be in here, Penix and Milton and, Hartman and
Yeah, but you notice you didn't have the Jaden Daniels and Drake May and Caleb. They were nowhere to be seen.
Right, but what I would do is I would not have my roster size locked in. And legitimately, I would go like to these dudes, these top level dudes who show up in Mobile, and I would go, look, are you here just for the scouts or are you here for the scouts and do you want to play? Then what I would do is if these quarterbacks only give me answer A, I'm stacking my numbers to where you don't have a Braden Fisk situation where the guy's switching teams to help out your rosters. If defensive tackles show up, they want to do the toe touchies and the shuttle runs, that's cool. But if you're going to do that and play, let us know. Otherwise, we're going to bring somebody else in who wants to do the same thing and play to improve their draft stock.
Yeah, they need to expand those rosters. I mean, they need a taxi squad. Because, I mean, basically, both of those games, or actually all those games, there's like 2 more, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
It's a combine with contact.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So expand your roster size in the future Senior Bowl, presented by one of the favorite desserts of mankind. But expand your roster size. Don't just get it to where a dude plays a series and he's done and does the cameo. Don't do that. Make it bigger and have folks who really want to improve their stock have their chance.
Yeah, if you get a chance, check out the Reese's Pink Hearts that have started disappearing after somebody noticed. If you pick them up upside down, they look like something else. Google that.
No. Please tell me they didn't.
Somebody posted that, and they have sold out everywhere.
Oh my God!
Just if you get them, eat them right side up, or you won't finish the back. That bag will remain untouched.
How do you not?
Like I say, the Shrine Bowl, Tualia, he looked good. He looked like what everybody expected him to look like at that game.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I just hope he can do that again.
Yeah, and but while we're talking about it, I mean, you ended up with guys who were, like I said, you got the quarterback from the University of West Florida who's been a D2 power the last couple of years, getting reps. That's the kind of stuff that I like. Like when we were growing up, when we had the blue-gray game on noon on Christmas Day in Montgomery, Alabama, where you had all these players from all these different places. Yes, it was somewhat southeastern based, but you had the smaller schools, and they had the chance to improve their stock or even get noticed because these committees sat there and they thought about the local guys and they could bring them in to be a part of the whole conversation. So that's why I like the Shrine game. because you get the opportunity to see those FCS 1AA, D2, D3, NAIA types and the Canadian influence as well. I like different, and I like to see guys shine in these situations, like Talia Tagovailoa, who took a little bit for the engine to get warmed up. Third and fourth quarter, the East Side did have the comeback in him.
Yeah, he looked good. Unfortunately, the in-house announcer could not say his name. He'd struggle on the first. There'd be a long pause. And I'm just sitting there looking at my nephew. And he's just shaking his head.
Oh, no.
I find it fascinating that ESPN.com doesn't even mention the East-West Shrine game.
Wasn't on their air.
The one they didn't broadcast?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Next thing you know, like, their rankings are only going to be do you ever notice with ESPN student rankings when they're doing recruiting that the minute somebody gets an offer from an SEC school, they would change it? 3 stars become 4 stars, borderline 4 stars become 5 stars.
Did you ever notice?
Just saying, what grinds my gears? Just saying.
Did you ever notice how people want to dictate things that only benefit themselves?
Let me make my eyebrows bigger.
That's what we need. We need Andy.
For the youngins, there used to be a guy with big eyebrows that complained about stuff, and he got paid a lot of money to do it.
Andy Rooney, yes. And for the record, according to our friends at the Shield, Frank Gore Jr. at Southern Miss, Talia Tagovailoa at Maryland, Blake Watson, running back out of Memphis, Miles Murphy, the DT out of North Carolina, and Anthony Gould, the wide receiver from Oregon State, and Cam Little, the kicker from Arkansas, were the 6 that improved their stock by showing up at the start to show themselves to Marty and the family this past week.
How do kickers
and my nephew, Matthew Finau.
Wait a minute. How do kickers end up on that list?
They hit it straight.
He was booming them. If they were a Jerry World, when he was warming up, he would have hit the screen.
Boom it, little boom it. Boom it, little boom it. Literally, that's what your cheer was probably at the Star or in Fayetteville from his time at Arkansas. Hit a 26-yarder, hit a conversion from 48, and crossed the goalpost near the top, so he suggested he could crush it from 60. So, and I think wasn't the thicker kicker there, Mevis out of Missouri?
Oh,
I think he was.
I did not know. I was looking more towards Ohio State players. We had one and a half. We had a Ohio State guy, Steel Chambers, and then Dallas Gant, who transferred to
Steel
who
Chambers.
did a good move.
Blessed Trinity.
Best name.
Here in the headquarters.
He's one of my favorite. The kid's a team player. They were short at running back. Was it the Rose Bowl? They didn't have enough linebackers. He switched over, and he ended up finishing his career as a linebacker. He looked good.
Oh yeah, Steele was a 2-way player at Blessed Trinity here in Georgia High School. So that is something that we knew about going in. If they had consulted us, we could have told them.
And we had Dallas Gant as well, who he wasn't getting enough playing time, and he wasn't quite a good fit for the scheme at Ohio State. He transferred to Toledo, and he's probably the best linebacker in the MAC. And he also played pretty well.
Maction, hello.
And his family rolled deep there. We saw them on the way out and said hello to them. They had their own section in the lower bowl.
Well, it was the Star. I mean,
it was pretty full. I was pleasantly surprised at the turnout there.
Yeah. I mean, it was great to see the stack and look the way that it was. I mean, it was great to see something like that. Tulane cornerback Jarius Monroe named defensive MVP. John Reese Plumlee getting reps. Wow.
What?
Wow. And that's what you get when you're looking at Shrine games. You find all these dudes that you see on Saturdays that get noticed on national basis. Very, very cool.
So is the blue-gray game still a thing? Or
no,
it retired.
It retired, sadly, for all of it, because they didn't want to have programming on Christmas Day other than basketball. And so I'm sure if you ask the Central Alabama Sports Council, in addition to the Camellia, if they could bring back the blue-gray, If they could find a way to do it financially, I'm sure that they would. If you asked everybody there in Montgomery about it, if they could find a way to bring back the blue-gray game, I'm sure they would.
Yeah, by the way, John,
have to be a different
the thicker kicker did convert a 46-yard field goal. That was his only real action during the game.
Hey,
Nobody went for extra points.
hey, it's all good. All
It's
good.
a whole lot of going for 2
Yes. We like that, but no,
because
once
they
again,
couldn't go for 3.
well, because that happens in the UFL coming up in about 6 weeks.
Schedule
What?
drop on Monday for those
buddy.
that are interested.
Here comes the UFL. Can't wait. And I know that Marty, with his season tickets, I know that Marty's looking forward to it.
Go Renegade.
Another league that will go unnoticed by the general public.
But not by us, because we enjoy it. What else is on your mind this week?
I think we've covered just about everything.
DJ Durkin has no business being an assistant coach in the Southeastern Conference. There you go.
But yet here we are.
Yeah, but here we are. Yeah, I mean, all you got to do is Google his time at Maryland, and that should give you all the information that you need.
As we all know, once you're in the coaching circle of life,
Look, they may as well just hire a guy with the last name of Briles and get it over with.
yeah. If you're in, you're in, and if you're not, then you're probably in Division 2.
Yeah, or grinding away when others who are less talented are getting your spots. But that is the real world as we operate today. But yeah, that's your Google search for today. DJ Durkin, Maryland. That's your Google search for today, kids.
Respects to the Auburn Tigers, who Terry Beasley.
Yeah, man, that was a lot. I mean, Terry Beasley, and now, I mean,
heck of a college football player. He passed away at the age of 73 this week. Got a little bit of time in the NFL, but
Don't forget the biggest person we lost this week.
who was that?
Apollo Creed.
Oh, that's true. Yes.
Yeah.
It's absolutely true.
Moment of silence.
Apollo Creed and many other characters. Of course, we were talking about the now late great Carl Weathers.
Raiders
Happy
great.
Gilmore. The caddy.
Star of the
Talented
Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm.
It's all in the
talented guy and former NFL linebacker.
Yeah, he played with the BC Lions too in the Canadian Football League.
Don't often see NFL guys make the transition into acting, and yet here we are.
And yeah, go back.
an unusual high amount of Raiders do.
Yes, that is true. And
better than others.
Yeah, and also if you have the chance to go down the rabbit hole on a nighttime or a weekend or something, go and find Sylvester Stallone's comments about Carl Weathers and what he said on his social media about how he was hired in the first place to take the role of Apollo Creed, and then what Sylvester Stallone said about Carl Weathers once it was divulged that he passed. So that's your second rabbit hole for the week. So DJ Durkin and Sylvester Stallone on Carl Weathers. I know that those are two divergent things whatsoever, but those are your Google searches for them.
That is your yin and yang for the week.
Absolutely.
The only connection that those two things have are the fact that we mentioned it here on the podcast.
Correct.
All right, guys, time to wrap it up. We have gone on for pretty close to an hour here.
An hour.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We do appreciate it. Make sure you look us up. We are available online at OSG Sports, theonlinesportsguys.com. You can find all of our content there. We're on YouTube. We're on Facebook. We're unfortunately on Twitter X, but that's a separate conversation.
280 character app. Absolutely.
Until we come back and visit you the next time we have something to blather about on college football, have a great early February, and we will be back sooner rather than later. So long, everybody.
Please like and subscribe.